Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and in this video you're going to get 2 recipes for the price of 1, which is free, I guess. We're going to make a very smooth cranberry sauce slash spread slash dessert topping, and we're also going to make a cranberry cheesecake mousse in the whipping siphon. Now I know there's only a small subset of my viewers that have whipping siphons, but I haven't done a video for them in a while, so we're going to do that. But also, if these words are still in the video, it means I successfully did a non-whipping siphon version that I tacked on to the end of the video. As with my Thanksgiving cranberry sauce, this recipe and the credit for it goes to Maya at Wholesome Yum, and I will include the link to her original recipe down below. We're going to make a couple of tweaks to it, though, in this video. Let's get to making it. We'll start with 3/4 cup of water. To this, we'll add 1 cup of confectioner's or powdered Swerve. We'll turn on the heat and whisk this until it's dissolved. To this, add anywhere from 1/4 to 1 whole teaspoon of orange zest, depending on how much you like the orange flavor. Then we'll add 1 12-ounce bag of cranberries, rinsed, and pick out any large rocks or pine cones or anything like that that you might see in there. Then I bring this up to a boil. Now be aware as you bring this up to a boil that the skins are going to crack and pop, and sometimes there might be a little bit of a spatter. We're going to get this up to a full rolling boil and keep it there for about 2 minutes because I want to really release all the pectin that's inside these. You may need to take the heat down a little bit to cut down on some of the spatter, or be prepared to do a little bit of wiping up. After 2 minutes, we're going to take the heat down to low to medium low, and we'll continue to stir until we get to just a simmer. And then we'll let this simmer for the next 15 minutes. It's been 15 minutes, so we are going to remove our cranberries from the heat and add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And now is where the recipe is going to get different, because we're going to use an immersion blender to blend this as smooth as possible. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can use a regular blender or maybe even a NutriBullet. Then we're going to push our sauce through a fine mesh strainer to get any grit out of there. You'll probably need to do this in 2 or 3 batches. The technique that I find works pretty well is sort of a swirl and then a push. Swirl, push. Once you feel you've got it about as good as you can get it, I'll usually take my spatula and scoop out the grit and go into the compost bin with this. And I think that's as good as it's going to get on the second batch. Scrape off any excess sauce that's on the underside of the strainer. Check out how smooth this is. And we can draw a line through it with our finger. That's about the right thickness for me. At this point, you've got a great dessert topping if, say, you wanted to put it on top of keto ice cream or keto pound cake. Recipe right here. I think this could also be a great base for some sort of a sticky, sweet and tangy barbecue sauce. But for right now, we're going to let it cool a little bit in the fridge before we make our mousse. I've let the sauce cool for about 1/2 hour. I have 1/4 cup of the sauce, 2 ounces of softened cream cheese, and I'm going to whisk these together. Once it's mostly smooth, I'll add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream and whisk until thoroughly combined. Then I'll pour this into my whipping siphon. Then we'll screw on our top and charge it with 1 nitrous oxide cartridge. The cool thing about this recipe is that it's thick enough that you only need a single cartridge. Oh, and this tip came from viewer Belize Guy. Invert your whipping siphon when you discharge the cartridge. That way the CO2 goes blasting up through your liquid. Did you hear those bubbles? Now give it a vigorous shaking for about 30 seconds. Once it sounds not completely liquidy anymore, kind of like that, we're going to put it in the fridge for the next half hour or so. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and make this mousse without a whipping siphon. We'll start with 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Then, using a mixer with a whisk attachment, we're going to whip this cream up. All right, we've got what would probably be described as fairly stiff peaks right now on our whipped cream. We'll set this aside for a minute. And as before, we've got a 1/4 cup of the cranberry sauce, 2 ounces of softened cream cheese. I'm using the same Pyrex container. I figured no point in washing it if I'm doing the same ingredients. Whisk together the cream cheese and the cranberries. Then we'll add the cream cheese and cranberry mixture into our whipped cream. And gently fold it together. Always make sure you're getting around the edges and down to the bottom. That is looking pretty darn good. We're going to put this in the fridge for at least a half an hour so it can firm up a bit. All right, let's serve up the whipping siphon version. I'm holding the can upside down and shaking it a few times just to make sure that all of my mousse is on the nozzle end. Now that looks nice, but I think we can do better. I put the sauce in a sandwich bag and cut off the tip. Do a nice little spiral around here. And then, because I'm feeling extra fancy schmancy, I'm going to take some 90% dark cocoa and get about 50% of that on top of the mousse and the other 50% on my cutting board. Now I'm going to give it a taste. Look at this. Isn't this pretty? I'm really excited about this. Oh my goodness. The creaminess of the mousse, and then you get that tartness off the cranberry sauce, and then that chocolate. Wowzers. For our non-whipping siphon version, I could just scoop this out into some bowls, but I felt since I was fancy before, I should be fancy again. So I'm going to spoon this into a piping bag. I do not have mad skills with a piping bag. And again, with a little swirl of sauce. A little shaved chocolate. Again, all over my cutting board. And now I'll see if I can find a family member that wants to taste this. So this version is a little bit thicker, not quite as fluffy. I'm gonna hand this to Courtney.
Thank you.
Say hi.
Hello. Good. Definitely makes it with the garnishes on top. Even just having the shaved chocolate is really good. It's definitely still sweet.
So it's just slightly thicker than the whipping siphon version, but still pretty good.
Yeah. Good way to use up your extra Thanksgiving cranberries, right? Is that the goal?
Or have something for Christmas.
There, okay, yeah. Looks Christmassy.
Yeah. So there
Good
you go.
stuff.
So we have a winner.
Winner, chicken dinner.
So there you go. It's just the same old cranberry sauce with a couple of extra steps, and you've got a dessert topping, probably a great keto waffle topping as well, probably the foundation for a future barbecue sauce, and a core ingredient in a pretty easy to make mousse that is going to turn you into a holiday rock star. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, hit the bell next to it so you're notified whenever I release a new video. Thanks for watching.